guys so much for having us. This chicken is delicious.
Oh, yeah, y'all are welcome anytime.
And what does Daddy get for all his hard work? The big piece of chicken! Right? Always gets a laugh from her, you know. Chris Rock.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you haven't seen that, honey.
Yeah, I love Chris Rock. He's so funny.
Did you really see it, Ricky? Especially since you're the big comedy fan.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, I'm a racist, so.
Oh.
So, you think black people are...
Inferior, right.
And that'd be because of their...
Skin color. Yeah.
So it's not, cultural?
Cultural?
No, not at all. Well, don't make this dinner all about me. You guys have any plans for Halloween?
Yeah, we'll go to Jeff's parents with the kids.
Sorry, I feel like I need to say something.
No, really, it's fine.
It's not okay, Jen. Ricky, if you really feel that way about the blacks, I just don't feel like I can be in this relationship anymore.
Wait, so you didn't know I was a racist?
Of course not.
What? You didn't notice how I don't have any black friends, that I don't listen to rap music? You never noticed my oversized, exclusively white dog? Remember that time I said I wanted Tyler Perry to get waterboarded?
I thought you just hated Medea.
Oh, you mean Big Mama's house?
No, Medea.
Okay, so the movie where the young black guy dresses up like a spunky old black woman?
Yes, Medea.
I think it's fair to say that I'm pretty uncomfortable. I think we should probably go home.
Oh, Jeff, honey, let's all just take a deep breath and try and enjoy our dinner.
I totally agree.
Do you?
This pineapple fried quinoa is fantastic.
Oh, Jeff and I just got around to seeing the new Oceans movie, Oceans 8,
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah, 8.
Have y'all seen it?
I loved it.
Really?
Of course, I'm not a sexist.
.com. That's called as little of that as I can actually bring in, because that is piping hot.
It's supposed to be hot.
That is absolutely piping hot. And are we good on sound here? I'm sounding muffled, and you're sounding clear as bell.
Ah, you sound fantastic.
All right, it could just be my head.
Not as good as me, but you know, close.
All right, okay. Well, look, just so you know, really quickly, Dave Landau's not here. He's back on the wagon.
We put out an Amber
Off the wagon.
I don't know which.
I don't know what the expression is. Can you guys let me know early on? This is just, I want you guys to comment below and let me know if it's on the wagon, off the wagon. Because if you're on the wagon, the point is he's a drunk.
No,
we have no idea where he is. He might be on his way in later, but don't worry, we have a lot to discuss today. Namely, we're going to be talking about Russia and the Ukraine. And I know, before your eyes glaze over, mine did too.
It matters.
It does matter, but that's not how you get people interested.
Oh,
there will be Russian breasts.
Look, if they can do it in their own news, certainly we can talk about them
Yes, you
doing
can
it.
order wife from Amazon Prime and become president. So we'll be talking about Russia and Ukraine just really quickly. If we get booted, because you never know what's going to happen with the YouTube when you're discussing Russia, China, COVID, anything. You can watch us on Rumble or on Mug Club. Of course, there's a full extra hour of show on Mug Club. It's Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. 10 a.m. Eastern. And this Thursday, we have a super video on Wikipedia. We've run some tests. We feel confident now in letting you know that it's far worse than you imagined.
Oh, boy.
So that's going to be fun on Thursday.
I love it. I can't wait.
Big video that took a lot of work from a lot of people here. First question, though, before we move on and talk about Russia and Ukraine, and we actually will have some people in here to argue about it. A lot of different opinions in the office, just to be clear. So this this show's going to be a little bit different. We're going to have differing points of view. You know, the Patton point of view of we defeated the wrong enemy, should have defeated the Nazis, but also the Russians. And then we'll have differing points of view where we shouldn't do anything and we should let Ukraine fend for themselves. So, you know what? It's a hodgepodge.
I like it.
It's a potluck of geopolitical mystery. But my question to you is, I think last week we asked, do you think, so now it's the updated version, when do you think Russia is going to be invading the Ukraine? Can we get an over-under on Tuesday?
After Biden's speech.
Send some people over to DraftKings.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Foreign Policy Warhawk Kings.
What's the line?
Gosh, this is going to be a weird. You thought 2020. Remember when everyone thought, thank God 2020 is over? Remember the 2021 New Year's? Like, thank God 2020 is over. Oh, because you think the date changes? Your right's coming back, and now we're in 2022. And now, oh my gosh, outside of the pandemic, COVID, there's an actual conflict that could be significant that you may have to worry about now. Just add that to your plate. This is going to be a nutty week. Here to talk about it with me, of course, he knows his foreign policy, is Gerald A. How are you?
I am well, sir. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, had a busy weekend.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, the little one.
Lots of stuff going on.
Lots of stuff going on. You got little Rugrats.
Rugrats.
Yeah, one of them tested positive for the COVID. One of them tested negative, so it's like you got to keep them apart. And
well, I don't think you say the COVID. That's like saying the face.
I put my spin on it. And we don't have Dave here, but we actually do have. He works here as a researcher, as a producer. His name is, well, you know what? He's Ginger Snap to us because his hair is fiery red. Ginger Snap, how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic and appreciate the love with the nickname.
Yes, let me let everyone see your hair. Let everyone see your hair. He has to wear his Burger King Kids Club. Look at this. For crying out loud. There are a few perverts who are going to love that. You can put your head back.
Gosh. I guess it's off. It's off.
The thing is with redheads, they're like at least with guys, brunettes, blondes, bigger girls, smaller girls, it's a preference. Redheads, it's a fetish.
It is, right?
It's a fetish.
Steven, can you guess where we imported him from?
Well, I know, you know what? People won't be able to guess properly.
Yeah.
Strangely enough.
Yes.
Tell them where you came from, Ginger Snap.
I came fresh off the boat from South Korea.
Oh my gosh.
Living in South Korea.
They must have not welcomed him there at all.
I stood out a little bit.
Did you eat canine? Oh my word!
Did he say yes?
He didn't say no. It's a horrible start.
Oh my gosh. We have two canine eating fools in this place.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And let us know when Dave comes in so we can admonish Dave.
We will, yeah. They're going to let us know when he's ready to rock and roll.
So before we move on to Russia and the updates here, and former Vice President Joe Biden and his ineptitude, I just see Lizzo in the show map, and I was told not to watch this.
Ooh.
Have you seen this, Ginger Snap?
I have. It's not amazing.
He keeps looking down at his notes. He's nervous. He's like a bird dog right now. He's like, huh? What? Huh? It's okay. Just relax. Just be yourself, Ginger Snap. Just be yourself. People will like you. They won't like himself. He needs to fake it. Lizzo apparently overcooked her pizza. Let's watch.
So I'm sitting here What the f? So I'm sitting here stressed out.
No, that's your actual size.
Feelings, and I can't even eat my feelings right. I overcooked my pizza. Look at this. Oh. Bitch. Bitch, what am I supposed to do with... Bitch, I'm still gonna eat it, though.
Yes. Well, I was hoping for a zag, but... Yeah, well, you know what? She has to dip her pizza in ranch because pizza needs ranch.
It does, actually.
Pizza gets so dry. There's just not enough already on pizza. Pizza is just a layering mechanism.
It is.
She just say she's eating her feelings?
She is.
If you're going to eat your feelings, she needs her pizza oven stapled.
She had a Diet Coke right next to it, though, so she's totally fine.
Is there a kitchen band procedure?
It's called a lock.
Yeah, it's called a lock. It's called a padlock.
Just lock the doors to anything that contains food. Throw away your phone because you can order Uber Eats.
We're crying out loud. Here's the thing. Yeah, we get it. Okay. But have the self-awareness to not upload you discussing eating your feelings and dipping pizza in ranch. And at the very least, every single video like that should end with, by the way, this is really unhealthy and I'm gonna die soon.
There should be a Surgeon General's warning on every video
there should.
She produces.
Exactly. Just like on a pack of cigarettes, you have like a lung. It should just be like the dinner plate nipples.
Yeah.
Of what happens when you gain that much weight. on every single Lizzo CD.
Yeah, absolutely. Be careful. You could end up like this.
As opposed to explicit content, Tipper Gore, get dinner plate nipples and rags on sticks and put it on every single Lizzo CD. That's
terrible.
For the, oh my gosh.
Did we lose power? Are we gone?
Are we gone off the stream, or is the stream still going on?
Well, I don't know.
I have no idea.
It feels like we lost power.
We did lose power.
Looks like
to the entire building.
We should still be on. Well,
yeah.
Oh, I think our backup generator may still be going. You may not be able to see us, but you might be able to hear us.
So the Blaze can hear us?
It seems.
Can YouTube hear us?
I don't know. We're finding out right now.
Let's have someone come in as soon as you.
Looks like
YouTube's still up. But
YouTube's still up.
Ah. Up. Power's back on. Look at that.
All right, hold on a second, guys. We're going to just see if we're still... Oh, no. What is going on here?
Oh, what did we say? It's Lizzo. She's attacking the outside of the building.
It's the ghost of Lizzo.
Okay, it looks like we're back up.
Oh, my gosh.
On Rumble, and we're still up on YouTube.
Still up
We are still on YouTube. So that whole thing was on YouTube.
Yeah.
Did they hear my racial tirade?
Well, like I said,
they didn't hear me call. They didn't hear me call and leave those racist voicemails, did they? While we were, I mean, I did it. It was a very short amount of time. But
what are you, Mel Gibson?
I have short windows of free time, so I make best use of it.
You multitask. You have to multitask.
Yeah. Are we?
I think they were coming in to say that we're back up. Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Did it cancel the stream on YouTube? No. Hey guys, everyone, comment below. Just this is a good chance. Comment below. Did you guys just see that dark? And did you see?
Yeah, it actually happened.
You didn't see Ginger Snap servicing himself furiously, did you?
It was quick.
It was quick.
No. He's trying to get in his steps. If you move your watch.
Yes.
I got to get 1,000 steps in today.
Yeah.
In addition to what I had
doesn't know what to do with the heart rate variability. So hold on. So I want to make sure. Okay.
All is well still.
Good.
So, right.
Okay. So we can move on there from Lizzo.
YouTube just struck our studio with a missile and they didn't know.
I have no idea what even just happened. That was the weirdest thing.
There may have been construction or something that hit power.
So we do have a backup generator that keeps the stream going.
Yeah. It keeps all the essentials going other than lights.
One
would imagine
other than people being able to see us on a video video program.
You know, there's a fair point there.
Yeah,
we'll have to look at that list again.
Just give me just have at least one light so I can do the Ernest Scared Stupid bit.
Well, they'll just give you a flashlight for the desk.
Right. Okay.
There you go.
What's going on there, Tim the Toolman? What do you need to fix?
He's just getting everything reset for us. Yeah.
Look, this is what happens when we're live. Do you realize how few people do live programs like this for this reason?
Right.
Do you have any idea
how
often this happens?
Us, or
no.
Are we better than them?
No, Stephen Colbert doesn't trust himself.
Cut.
Nor does Jimmy Fallon.
The needles need to look more
Pfizer
flamboyant. Yeah. You know, we need better needles.
Pfizer is paying for top needle placement, and I'll be damned if we don't give it to them.
We have to have good needle representation. Okay.
Yes. We need equal needle representation and needle exchanges. All right, this is as good a time as any then to just let you know, but before we move on, while we get our clips back in the TriCaster and everything, follow me on Instagram here, Louder with Crowder, because someone's sitting on Steven Crowder, I believe, and we'll be taking your Mug Club chat here later on. We'll have another full hour show.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful start to the show. Our first clip is Lizzo eating pizza. Fantastic work, guys! And then everything goes dark. People thought they were tuning into DeRay's podcast.
Are you able to pull up CNN? Did we lose it completely? Can he?
That TV just isn't.
The TV's not coming back on, but I have it on my monitor. Can you pull it up? Florida House Committee passes "Don't Say Gay" bill.
What?
What the headline is?
Just so you guys know, I'm flying. I'm flying in the dark here.
I promise I'm not lying to you. I don't even know if we can bring it up.
It's Darkwing host.
That's okay. It's okay. It's not a big deal. I was just saying that's kind of if you.
So we can't bring up CNN for the show
now. Well,
something's got to be reset. We can't do it at this moment.
I mean, we can't make fun of CNN for like a whole hour and a half.
I don't know what.
I
don't know what that means. Second half. Second half of the show. Go. We'll do it live.
We have a clip of CNN.
We'll do it live.
Hammering.
Yeah. All right. So we do have a clip here from CNN from before. This is great, by the way, for Ginger Snap. His first time in here.
He's just sitting over there going,
odor.
Oh, God.
The odor is emanating from that end of the studio right now. It would have lines.
Did you have a Biden?
You all right there?
I'm doing good. I'm just trying not to, just overstep my bounds.
That's okay. Don't worry. You won't overstep your bounds. You're a friendly South Korean white guy. Okay. This was on this morning on CNN. So, Bari Weiss was on Bill Maher.
Yeah.
And Bari Weiss used to work with, I believe, the New York Times and has had sort of an awakening. Not really conservative, but I guess you would call her classical liberal. And she made some totally reasonable points on Bill Maher, which of course was trending all over this weekend, because people were furious, where she was implying that, of course, with COVID, they don't really have the science at this point, and there are negative ramifications. Like I've always said, look, here's the thing with COVID. No one is saying that COVID isn't real. No one is saying that COVID doesn't suck for some people who get it. With everything in life, you have to weigh the risks and rewards, the pros and cons. In this case, your basic civil liberties and freedoms versus Omicron, which at this point, you know, for most people, is a cough. You don't even, it's actually not even a cough. It's nasal stuff.
Right. It's like a 1 to 2 day hold, basically.
I had it.
It's symptom-wise. I'm not saying you should, you know, downplay.
I had it, and I felt like, you know, Tom Hanks at the end of Philadelphia. So, you know, but I got it worse.
Ready to run a marathon?
It's also the AIDS. The AIDS was really, it was more of a comorbidity.
Yeah. I think that is the morbidity.
So this morning, though, on CNN, they brought on a doctor to issue counterpoints to Bari Weiss's points, Dr. Reiner from George Washington University. And this is the beauty of, you know, when these people, first off, we talked about these comedy shows, they don't do it live. Okay, well, that's wonderful because they can edit anything to look favorable. But then also on places like, that's redundant, but then also, I apologize, it's the darkness that's gotten to my brain.
It's crept.
Also on CNN, or these programs, there's a beauty in never being accountable, where you can bring on people simply to straw man your opponents, because they don't bring Bari Weiss on. In my opinion, if you are commenting on what Bari Weiss said on Bill Maher specifically, right, and you are CNN, to do your job and be a journalist, you should have Bari Weiss on. Instead, they show a brief clip, and then they bring a doctor on to address the points that she never made. Here's the most trusted name in news.
I'm done with COVID. I'm done. It's like I went so hard on COVID. I remember. Sprayed the Pringles cans that I bought at the grocery store, stripped my clothes off because I thought COVID would be on my clothes. Like, I did it all. And then we were told, you get the vaccine.
That was my
excuse. You get the vaccine and you get back to normal. And we haven't gotten back to normal. And it's ridiculous at this point.
We have.
This is going to be remembered by the younger generation as a catastrophic moral crime. The city of Flint, Michigan, which is 80%, I think, minority students, has just announced indefinite virtual schooling.
Also known as a majority.
In the past 2 years, we've seen among young girls a 51% increase in self-harm. People are killing themselves. They are anxious. They are depressed. They are lonely. That is why we need to end it.
She ranted about how inconvenienced she has been by this pandemic and how it's not real anymore. Well, I'll tell you that for the 10,000 Americans who died last week and for their families, yeah, it was damn real. And for the people who, struggle to keep them alive, and for the thousands and thousands of healthcare workers who have been doing this nonstop for 2 years, her behavior was childish and selfish.
Okay. So you notice what she said? She said, look, we do have record number of specifically teenage girls.
Yeah.
They're self-harm. And of course, if you look into those statistics, all references available at loudwithcrowder.com. We have them below as well. We've done several episodes on this. There's been an increase in substance abuse. There's been an increase in hospitalizations for alcoholism. Right? Suicides, way up. And he says, I think she's being childish because she's just talking about how she's been inconvenienced. She didn't discuss herself being inconvenienced at all.
No. It was all about how other people are being destroyed by this, specifically the people that we say we sacrifice everything for, our children.
Right.
Right now, we're sacrificing them to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Why can schools be closed in one place and open in another place? We all deal with the same issues. We all have COVID spikes. We all have Omicron that's kind of running around the country. It's fear. That's all. That's the only.
No, but in Flint, they should stay home from school and drink the tap water.
Yes, get as much of that tap water as possible.
Also, this is how silly political correctness is when we're talking about language. Which is like in Flint, where it's 80% because you can't just say black, you can't say brown. 80% minority. Imagine if you read a poll. Well. A minority of Americans believe that disapprove of Joe Biden's job on the economy. What's that minority? 80%. I should note that the 80% is black. 80% is not a minority. Why do we still say this? Minority. They're minorities. It's 80% minority. Not in Flint!
That would be called a majority, sir.
In Flint, you know who's a minority? Ginger Snap.
Well,
Ginger Snap gets caught on the wrong block. No, nay. on the right block, and he's not living through the day.
I heard there's a big Swiss population there. I might fit in.
Yes, there's a big Swiss population.
The knives and stuff.
Yeah, they can just remain neutral.
Of course.
All right, moving on here to former Vice President Joe Biden. Before we go into this situation with Russia, we're going to have a roundtable discussion because there are differing points of view, and it's a boring topic. And the truth is, I'll get to
it's boring until it's not.
It's boring until it's not. You know, I was very passionate about the Taiwan situation in China because I understand exactly how it affects the United States. I understand exactly how it affects all of us on a global scale. I understand that China is on the move and what they want to accomplish. With Russia, it's a little bit harder to be concerned because we see a sort of disenchanted, a sort of disenfranchised, former USSR, and people think, well, they're not really a threat. Well, the whole point is they're trying to build to being a threat, and Ukraine is one of those first steps. So a lot of people find it uninteresting. What are you guys doing over there? What are you guys gossiping about over there? Is there something wrong with the power?
With the class.
If something is going on, you guys have to let me know.
We apparently spelled the Russia wrong in the title, so we're correct.
Wow. Russia spelled wrong.
Did we?
I have to sit in close proximity to a ginger, and I don't know if that shit rubs off. And then we lose power.
And he crapped himself.
Yes.
So when Dave does come in, he's got a surprise in the chair.
I hope you had one hell of a piss, David. So before we get to Russia, though, Joe Biden, of course, he's always shown a bulldog-like toughness toward Putin, like when he said this last year.
So Vladimir Putin, you think he's a killer?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So what price must he pay?
The price he's going to pay, well, you'll see shortly.
Do you mean what he say?
Oh, if you sit on my lap today, I guess a toy is the price you'll pay. Name that reference. If Putin sits on my left knee, don't be stingy. Be prepared to pay. Mickey Rooney.
That's you can't give it away.
No, Mickey Rooney. That's not the name of the movie. That's an actor.
I know, but that's like a hint.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I shouldn't have given you guys a hint. Just ignore Mickey Rooney. Strike it from the record. Can we do that? Oh, no, wait. We're live, as you well know today. So what about when he tweeted this in February 2020? A good year, as we call it. Vladimir Putin doesn't want me to be president. He doesn't want me to be our nominee. If you're wondering why, it's because I'm the only person in this field who's ever gone toe-to-toe with him. First off, what did you ballroom dance with him? I don't understand. Well, I've gone toe-to-toe with Putin? What does that even? You've never gone toe-to-toe with anybody.
Yeah.
You're a skinny, fat, butter-soft biatch who has pushed pencils for your entire life and tries to act like you're the tough guy who's going to fight someone behind the bike racks. This is the stuff that he always does. He talks tough.
Don't exist.
Remember when Barack Obama said, everybody knows you don't mess with Joe. No, it's very clear you're saying that because that's precisely what you do with Joe.
You're trying to build him up. Like, no, I'll tell him.
There's nothing to do with Joe Biden if not mess with him.
Well, by the way, I do have a follow-up question to that. He said he went toe-to-toe with Putin, right?
Yes.
How did that go for him in the Obama administration?
Yeah, well, if he means that, if we're talking about what happened with the Ukraine back then, he was bent over.
I think Ukraine would rather he had not.
Yes.
They probably would have called for somebody else to be their champion.
Right. Yeah.
It's like Joe Biden walks out and they lose part of their country, and it's like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah. They're like,
an entire
who did this to us? Hey, it's me. What?
Joe.
Hey, never come back here again.
We do have fantastic news. What? Dave has been found.
Okay.
And Dave, we are ready for you to enter the studio, sir. Come on in.
Come on in, Dave.
We held him out for a few minutes for lashes and some other stuff. So
is he not actually coming in?
Well, he's supposed to be coming in.
Oh, well, good. So at least he's on cue now.
I mean, I assume,
woke up in a puddle of his own filth.
He can come in whenever he's ready, and we'll admonish the hell out of him.
So we are going to, before Dave comes in here, or whenever he comes in, we're going to get to the top 4 ways that the United States actually has sort of been the catalyst and created the Ukraine crisis. So it's time. That's why Ginger Snap is here, who works usually in the back room, for an underling argument. All right. Okay.
Oh, here, Dave's wearing his nicest outfit.
Yes.
Underling, go over to the seat.
Yeah,
red
Underling,
chair.
we're going to take you in the red chair here because Dave.
Well,
look who decided to show.
I was at a protest. I just want to apologize. I was a little late. We were protesting, and
what were you protesting, Dave?
Dicks.
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
Well,
they're
yeah, that makes
dangerous.
sense.
Yeah, the D word.
Yeah,
we've all had enough of them.
Yeah, it was a Me Too thing, and I'm like, nah, it's bad.
Right. Yes.
And yeah, this is well, luckily these are my pajamas. I wake up in this.
It helps the headrest. You wear it on a plane too, so you can sleep.
It is. Yes, it's an entire bodysuit. For
Well, it's also to
air
keep him from
travel.
rolling over while he sleeps.
It
Well,
is,
that's
yes.
a danger.
It
Well,
is.
CPAP.
So I apologize. I got I slept in a bit.
Yeah. Is that what happened?
Do you feel rested?
I went to a protest. I cried.
Everyone
out-
admonish him in the comment section. Admonish him.
Dave.
Oh,
He
I'm
deserves it.
gonna take off this pillow.
All right, and you can put on your. There you go. We got Lane. All right.
Oh, sorry guys.
So what happened? Your flight was late.
Super late. Yeah.
Meatloaf was my alarm and it didn't go off.
His name was Robert Paulson, Dave.
I'm sorry, Robert Paulson. No, it actually wasn't. That was the guy with the breasts. Well, I guess. Anyway, no, I got a new iPhone. That I was requested to get for the show, and
That's right.
I set the alarm.
You just blamed 3 different things.
I know. Yeah.
He blamed Meatloaf.
Yeah. Yeah.
He blamed Tim Cook.
Yeah.
And then blamed me.
Well,
because I'm the one who's paying for the iPhone.
Well, you know what's funny? That's why this morning when I sent him a text and it said Dave doesn't have notifications turned on, I was like, oh crap.
Oh no.
But
I
it does
thought
allow
I
you
did,
to,
but
like-
I had the do not disturb with the alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the alarm was turned on. It just didn't go off.
Can I tell you one thing?
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
My dog.
That's like the only thing that always works.
Okay, look, guys, I took a 17 Ambien for the
Yes,
first time.
yeah.
I've never taken it, and I woke up on somebody's lawn in a vagina suit, and there was a homeless man on
That makes sense. So, by the way, if you guys out there see GoPro footage of a Martin Lawrence-like bender with Dave,
yes,
it's true.
I was waving a gun in traffic, yelling,
this morning.
they're going to get me.
Yeah, also, just for the record, even though he may say it in the video, he is not, in fact, Jesus Christ. Dave, correct the record.
I am not Jesus Christ.
You are
I'd
not.
like to be admonished twice.
Yes.
Although
he is not
I-
Jesus Christ.
I did get 3 followers.
Severely admonished.
3
I
whole
admonish.
followers.
All right.
I'm not good at technology.
No, that must be it. All right. No, we're glad to have you with us, Dave. Okay, we're talking about Russia. We're talking about the Ukraine, international politics, so it's right up your alley.
Cool. I wish I would have slept in more.
Yes. Well, you might get the chance here.
Easy. Come on.
It was a total accident.
No. And actually, Lane and Gerald got into a heated, Ginger Snap here got into a heated argument with Gerald in the back room. Fisticuffs went flying. And so he said, you know what, let's just bring
And
this
he
on
submitted,
air.
so,
He,
yeah,
he
fine.
did. Well, he just started submit, even though you didn't hit him.
Well, that's true. He was pulling his best impression of a Frenchman in war.
Yeah. Well, you look more French than South Korean. You don't look South
little
Korean
bit.
at all.
Yeah.
He's got the cheekbones and everything else.
Are you part South Korean?
He was in South Korea. That's where he came from. That's where he found him.
Mothers are South Korean.
Really?
Both of your
Your mom has 2 moms?
No, it's not a joke. I'm talking with Dave. I thought it'd be funny.
Oh, okay.
I assumed. Look, it's 2022. I don't know who's got how many mothers.
Yeah.
No.
We haven't. It's very difficult to track. Here's the worst part. If I was in university right now and you answered that way, we would all have to go.
Well, that's what we all did. We kind of paused for a second, like, you have 2. Okay, what?
Yeah. I forgot to check my time, my privilege, check a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of those.
Yeah, I was visiting my 2 dads' grave, and that's why I was late.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot to check. In your case, you forgot to check your pigment. You are positively translucent. You're like one of those fish that lives at the bottom of the ocean that never sees sunlight.
Yeah, I tried to hit the tanning bed before I came, but they said I couldn't go in. It was
No,
much of a health risk.
I get that, yeah.
That'll just shine straight through you.
Sun and tan down the road.
He'll come out looking like Mr. Burns in the field.
It's true.
I bring you love. All right. So last week, former Vice President Joe Biden accidentally, which is always instills confidence in the commander of the free world, former Kamala Harris, came with a USA strategy regarding the Ukraine.
I think what you're going to see is that Russia will be held accountable if it invades. And it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, etc.
Did he say minor incursion?
I mean,
yes.
Incursion?
Incursion.
But it didn't sound like he said incursion.
No. I give him a pass. I just try to assume what he's saying based on what I hear.
Yeah.
Brain kind of fills it in.
You have to have your little orphan Biden decoder pen.
Well, pretty much.
I think he meant to say insurrection.
Yeah. I think he meant to say insertion.
Erection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, erection, he was just asking for one. Huh? Can I get one?
Guys,
haven't had one in a long time.
Stat.
Huh? See?
I don't
want to. Do you see, Alice?
Oh,
that's code.
I took so much of it.
Get Alice.
I slept late.
Yeah. Took so much of it, slept late, and had a heart attack.
Oh, the blood kept me.
So look, let me be really clear here, because there's going to be a back and forth on this discussion.
Yeah.
We are not holding water for Putin. I think Putin's a dick, which is what Dave was out protesting, apparently, until 4 in the morning.
That's right.
And this is my view on Russia. I tend to line up with Patton. Certainly as it related to World War II and after World War II, a little bit different. Boy, sharing the same name, that is a problem.
Tough. Yeah.
I hope when you Google it, it certainly shows up General Patton before Patton.
We should check that.
I certainly hope that if I search Patton, it doesn't show me Oswald's King of Queen credits.
I bet you it does.
Good show.
So Patton said near the end of World War II, he said, "The difficulty in understanding the Russian is that we do not take cognizance of the fact that he is not a European, but an Asiatic, and therefore thinks deviously." That sounds bad.
It does sound bad.
"We can no more understand a Russian than a Chinaman," which is what he said back then, "or a Japanese, and from what I have seen of them, I have no particular desire to understand them except to ascertain how much lead or iron it takes to kill them."
Wow.
In addition to his other Asiatic characteristics, the Russian has no regard for human life and is an all-out son of a bitch, barbarian, and chronic drunk. "We fought the wrong enemy," though that may not be necessarily confirmed, but it's fun to include. "Berlin gave me the blues. We have destroyed what could have been a good race, and we are about to replace them with Mongolian savages, and all of Europe will be communist." Now, to be clear, people tried to say that he was a Nazi sympathizer. That's not what Patton was. What Patton was saying is that there was a threat from Russia, and that these were not people who basically wanted to assimilate into Western civilization whatsoever. And of course, there are alliances that you have at certain points in time. A lot of the time, people go, "Why did we side with the Russians?" Well, keep in mind, with the Russians, they initially sided with the Germans in World War II.
They were buddies.
Till the Germans attacked them. And then, the Germans killed anyway. Well, I don't know if you take the total number of killed, but, Holocaust was about 6 million. And of course, you have millions other who were killed in the battles. With Russia, you're talking about anywhere from 50 to 100 million people who are killed, mostly their own.
Yeah, just in World War II.
Right.
Like, if we loop in World War I to this and the revolution, it gets really high.
Right. Now, that being said, there are a few, and Ginger Snap, you were writing this out. So you were also making this argument that the United States sort of created the Russia-Ukraine scandal.
Right, and this isn't to say that we could guarantee without the United States.
You got to talk into.
Yeah, the microphone doesn't have to talk in.
Like straight into the front of it, right there.
All right, I'll try my best. Yeah. It's not to say that
he's South Korean. He's directionally challenged.
It's not to say
that. Try and get him to use his blinkers.
Over here and the mic pick me up.
Yeah.
Okay, now
go.
Okay.
I wish I would have missed that joke.
I did.
I don't think I have any Ambien, but I think I might have some Lunesta in the back, as long as you don't mind the LSD butterfly.
There you go.
So anyway,
by Ambien, I meant Gerald sang me to sleep.
Yes.
The argument that myself and the other writers are trying to make is not that Russia is this great country that should be revered and Putin is this bastion of conservatism. It is that the steps that the United States have made since the end of the Cold War have led us to what would always be this outcome.
Right.
Okay.
And that is where we lined up with kind of the map we put together and the facts that we want to discuss today. And I know there's some disagreements with the particulars of those, but I think we'll...
Don't be diplomatic. You guys were being dicks to each other. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, no, I was winning the argument. That's all there was.
Hey, don't taint the jury pool.
But,
and by the way, you guys comment below. People who are watching on YouTube, comment where you line up right now. Should the United States get involved and protect the Ukraine at all? Should they be sending them aid, or should we be completely removing ourselves? Do you think this is a case where non-interventionism makes more sense? Many people watching may not have actually known anything about the Ukraine until, of course, Vladimir Putin invaded Crimea.
And I say, how does that work? Misleading statement that Russia outsmarted President Obama when other countries have said that the reason why Russia was kicked out was very clearly because they annexed Crimea. Why keep repeating what some people would see as a clear lie?
Well, it was annexed during President, I know you like President Obama, but it was annexed during President Obama's term. If it was annexed during my term, I'd say, sorry, folks. I made a mistake. Well, sorry, folks. President Obama was helping Ukraine. Crimea was annexed during his term. President Obama was pure and simply outsmarted. They took Crimea during his term. That was not a good thing. It could have been stopped. Could have been stopped.
And by the way, a lot of you probably assumed that, and of course there have been doctored, propaganda exists. A lot of you probably assumed that Putin fired the first shot.
Over my dead body. Yes, I bet you have.
That was for the nerds, and I don't like it. So, but
it made a point.
The Russia-Ukraine crisis started long before this, and Ginger Snap, you were explaining this, and you and Gerald can kind of explain the history. After the Cold War, right, the United States didn't really face any global opposition.
Right. So that was a really good way. Like, so we didn't face any opposition, but what we were trying to do, and I'll make my point and let him make his. I'm not going to make his point for him. I'll
just foreshadow. It's liberal hegemony. Is the word that we'll use.
Hegemony. Yeah. I'm not really sure what it means.
Hegemony.
I don't like
liberal hegemony ended up at
liberal. Right. So my point is that after World War II, we had a very aggressive Russian state that was basically taking over part of Europe so that they could build kind of this buffer between Europe and themselves, right? Yeah. So I definitely understand that, but it was not just about Russia, it was about the spread of communism as well. Russia has done nefarious things all throughout history, right? So this has played out over and over again, going back into the late 1800s. Russia in World War I fought against Germany and lost. They were trying to make sure that they could hold on to Ukraine. They were trying to make sure Turkey didn't come in on the wrong side so that they could get their ships out into the Mediterranean. This has been kind of the place that we've had to fight over for a long time. And so when the League of Nations was formed, when we formed NATO, when we formed the United Nations, all of these steps were taken to make sure this kind of conflict didn't happen again, or if it did, that Russia faced a foe that could defend itself.
Interesting, they didn't want Turkey to be on the wrong side. Hey, look
to your,
I was going to say, look to any side of you. That's the wrong side. That's where Turkey is.
You tend to pick wrong always, right? And I get that Russia gets pissed off about these things, but it's not like these things came out of nowhere, right? We had to do something to deter this, and the spread of communism was a very, very real threat, right? Especially when Spain and Franco's administration was communist.
And you think he's stupid.
Well, I don't disagree. I don't
trying to pick a fight. He's trying. Look at him.
Yeah. What did you say about his mom?
Oh, jeez.
Lovely lady.
Nice lady.
Dorothy Mantooth is a lovely lady.
Yes, lovely woman.
But I don't disagree with that statement. But that's like making the argument that, well, we shouldn't have allied with China then, and why are we allying against them now? Well, they're two different countries. Russia isn't the Soviet Union.
They're trying to be.
But communism is no longer really a factor that we need to consider.
Well, it did fail, but
have you been to Stanford?
No.
You asked people.
That's a great point. The threat of communism is greater from our universities than it is from Moscow.
We should occupy them then, I think.
So the argument that's made here is that we're looking at a different Russia after the end of the Cold War. So what we decided to do after the Cold War, and we brought it up earlier, was called this thing called liberal hegemony, which is basically that the United States feels, since they're not challenged by another superpower, there is nobody to rival them, that they can spread democracy across the world. And by doing this, it'll make peaceful relations between everybody, and no country has to worry about power relationships anymore. And that is the mistake I think our foreign policy experts made that kind of led us to where we are now.
Okay, so I would agree with that in maybe the Middle East, right? So with Iran propping up the Shah, we basically set the stage for the Ayatollah to come in and for
there is no stabilizing the Middle East. Okay, the Middle East is the world's Bosu ball. Yeah. There's no way you are ever going to get.
And
it's a balance board, and it's a rigged balance board.
Well, yeah, 130 there. God doesn't even want it there.
Yes.
And I agree with that in Afghanistan, right? Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of empires because every empire that has tried to come in and take over a people that should be takeoverable has failed, right? The United States included. We weren't really trying to take over. We were just trying to eliminate a threat. So I get that you can't just go and plant democracy in every place that you would like to.
Yeah.
And I also get that not every time that we've tried to plant democracy was it with altruistic intentions. We had power intentions. We had motivations that were maybe outside of that. But at the same time, that, again, to use your point, those countries and the problems we had there are not the same as making sure that Russia doesn't go on.
Well, and I think there's an important differentiation to make. And this is what I would say is I only have an interest in intervening if it directly relates to our national security interests.
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe we should spread democracy, because a lot of nations simply don't want to share our values. That does not work. That is what ultimately creates destabilization. However, when we're talking about like China and Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about something that would actually be a security threat, not only to all of Asia, but the rest of the world. Once Taiwan goes, you're talking about them getting really in close proximity to Japan. You're talking about circuit boards. You're talking about all kinds of hardware that is important to the rest of the world with Taiwan. You're talking about a real problem with China and Taiwan.
Yeah.
I think with Russia, it's one of those issues where it's a little bit tough because, you know, you're still talking about people who are largely, like, they have a life expectancy of 54 because they all die of cirrhosis and they poop in the woods.
It's forced labor, too, that really cuts down on the
it does.
longevity. So.
It does.
Makes them very strong, though, with their hands. They can dig without shovels.
Yeah, they can kill pedophiles and get off scot-free. So,
so the last thing I just want to mention.
Go ahead.
Not the last thing. This is just beginning, sir. You're not going anywhere.
It's only just
before we move on, I kind of want to stress the main points that we're trying to make here is first, yes, there is time for the United States to intervene. When should that be is a discussion. Right. But right now, the world we live in, Russia is not the place to do so when we have a much greater threat. And to...
Who's that greater threat?
China.
China.
And to try to intervene substantially in Eastern Europe would also substantially decrease resources that should be available for East Asia. Second off...
You just said nuke China. Wow.
It's not out of the question. MacArthur wasn't.
MacArthur wasn't. Think he was a non-interventionist. He's like, I just don't think we should spread democracy. I don't believe in liberal hegemony. But yeah, let's drop the A-bomb.
Drop that effort twice.
Let's do it right in Shanghai.
That's right. At noon.
Shanghai's nice. Beijing is where you'd want to go first.
Just because the movie.
I like what you did with the referencing the film. That was really cool.
Thank you, Owen.
Yeah.
I love Jackie Chan movies.
Who doesn't?
Fantastic.
I think we can all at least agree on that.
Okay, that was your one point.
That's the first point. And the second one is that, like Putin or hate him, he is acting completely rationally as any leader should in his position.
As a crazy, power-hungry psychopath, yes, he is acting like a crazy, power-hungry psychopath.
As a realist. Yeah. As a realist.
Right.
Right, yeah. I just want to make sure we say he's operating in that world, and for somebody in that world, he's operating like he should.
Well, you know, listen, people have good sides and bad sides. I mean, Gacy could paint.
He could. Hitler could paint.
Yep.
Jeez. I have a Gacy and a Hitler.
Do you?
Oh, yeah, they're great.
You know what? I find Gacy's work is just far too interpretive.
It is. Well, it's
so, almost self-important.
Happening?
Yeah, a lot of clowns and balloons and such, and I'm like, why isn't the clown murdering anybody?
Pretentious.
When Lane was talking about Putin, I think what he's saying is just like in the university system, we don't want communism in our university system. I think he's saying Putin didn't want that in Russia either.
Well, what Putin doesn't want is anything that disagrees with Putin. So let's not muddy those waters. There's a difference. It's not like Putin wants freedom for his people and he wants a strong-willed people who understand what liberties are. He wants to arrest and jail indefinitely, you know, a band like Pussy Riot. And that's an important difference to see that Rage Against the Machine. I mean, look, if I personally could probably write down top 5 things that would bring a smile to my face, Tom Morello behind bars in a gulag would be at the top of that list, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
So
Did you know that Lane and Gerald are smarter than me? So I'm going to say you're both right.
Yes, they're both right. They can both be right because in the world of geopolitics, nobody's right. Now, after the Cold War, I think we have a clip here. United States presidents, they all followed this idea of liberal hegemony. All of them, really, Republican, Democrat, up until one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Donald Trump.
They go out and they make a gas deal, oil and gas from Russia, where they pay billions and billions of dollars to Russia. Okay? So they want to protect against Russia, yet they pay billions of dollars to Russia, and we're the schmucks that are paying for the whole thing. So then,
it's a great word the Jews taught me,
since
schmuck.
I came, which is a year and a half, almost $33
Russia wants
billion more is projected to be paid by those NATO nations, but it's not enough. Do they ever tell you that? No. No.
By the way, I love how Donald Trump, he just puts a tone on something he doesn't like. It could be anything. In other words, it could be, he just says, because you have Russia. It could be the same thing where he says, because you have China, because you have Jeb. Low energy Russia, low energy Putin, low energy Jeb. He knows that the audience is like,
little Marco.
He's saying it in a way that I don't like.
He'd be a great pitch man.
Now, as part of this agenda to the United States, they sought to westernize Eastern Europe in a lot of ways. Do we have those numbers, by the way, in the show map somewhere? Can someone get me those numbers of what we were paying into NATO? We talked about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
I want to say that the promise was a certain percentage of GDP. It was either 2 or 3%, if I'm not mistaken. And the United States was way above that. And the next closest nation was, I don't know, at some point, maybe it was Poland when they were added. It was like 1 point something percent. But a lot of nations were paying less than 1%.
Right. That was the big problem that Donald Trump had with this.
Right.
That
with NATO.
not paying their fair share, which he thought the Democrats loved the fair share argument.
It's different from the UN, which is entirely useless.
Well, of course.
I don't think we should be in the UN at all. NATO served a purpose, just to be clear. However, NATO has definitely become a political arm in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, they probably outlived their usefulness a little bit.
So, and this goes to Russia wanted NATO to actually remain intact to pacify unified Germany. Okay, let's go back to this historically. And you can actually explain some of this, Lane. Germany is still actually labeled an enemy of the state of the UN along with Japan and Italy, right?
For good reason.
Right, so after the Cold...
Italy?
They still Mussolini.
I know, but he was just kind of like he was an ass, but he's kind of cute.
They're kind of like now they're like, can we just make our pasta and wine from Tuscany? Have you seen Tuscany? It's beautiful. We don't need to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, a fight.
Actually, there's nothing they can do. Italy.
Well,
they haven't won a war in modern history.
That's true.
I've never seen Tuscany.
Have you seen Under the Tuscan Sun?
I have.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Diane Lane. You know what? Diane Lane always looked like an attractive 40-year-old woman, even when she was 20. But then when she's like a 40, 50-year-old, it's like she just looks good now.
Yeah.
Yes, she does. She grew into that body.
It's sort of like the photo negative of Clint Howard, who just always looked horrifying.
We had a
but then you're like, well, he's at the age where he should look horrifying. You're like, oh, that was the case when he was 20.
I went to high school with a girl who looked like a mom. She had a mom haircut, and we called her the MILF because she looked 45.
Yeah, you're.
And I saw her no, I'm not. And I saw her too long ago, and I was like, wow, you look just like you did in high school.
There you go.
Grew into the Diane Lane body.
Who's laughing now?
Yeah, everybody.
That's not true.
So they're still labeled an enemy of the state, along with Japan and Italy. But here's the thing, though, and I know we'll find that funny now, but who can blame the UN when Germany's chief export? It's a lot of you don't know. It's still this.
Ich will dir etwas sagen, was ich noch zu keinem anderen Mädchen gesagt habe. Dieses Ziel bist du.
Oh.
Germans love David Hasselhoff.
They do love David Hasselhoff.
That's a fact.
Celebrate.
I don't know why.
I love the last part. It's like he's like, that's his voice. That's not his voice in the end.
No,
Come on, guys.
It's also weird that they decided to pick, and they were, the cafeteria Baywatch viewers. If you like Baywatch, you take all of it in all its splendor. But instead,
and you chose David Hasselhoff.
They chose the David Hasselhoff part.
Yeah. Also, as a former drunk, never ate a cheeseburger off a bathroom floor.
No,
that's a special kind of problem.
Well, listen, I will say this: he did have his daughter record him so that he could see it later, so that he could change, and he did change.
As opposed to Hunter Biden, who had his daughter record him so he could get her in on the film and smoke some parm. So the point is, as bad as we think that is, it's nothing compared to the Biden clan.
Oh, and it was a really good idea having her record him because it didn't haunt him at all.
No. Well, so explain this sort of because NATO, Russia, pro-NATO initially, right? Ginger Snap, but NATO is a big problem.
They were pro-NATO initially.
Yeah, so at the end of the Soviet Union, the beginning of the Russian Federation, they were very pro-NATO in the sense that they wanted it to maintain where it was because they saw it as a
the buffer, the whole buffer thing I was talking about.
Like this seat between you and your guy friend at the movie theater.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they saw it as a way to pacify Germany because what's happened the last time that Germany had been unified? Well, they tried to invade Russia. And before that, they tried to invade Russia. And before that,
they did invade.
Right. NATO will be like urinal that I have between my dick and other man's dick.
Yes.
I don't want, here's the key, when Russia use urinal, I use far urinal in corner. Not far urinal, just one space. Ideal urinal is in corner because even if we one space apart, there still is, but there's all this dick-looking space. But if I aim in corner, that thick backslash, no more backsplash, and there is no dick-looking space, I urinate in corner.
But to intimidate, I slowly move towards you.
That's true.
Until I share it.
And then eventually I rub earlobe and tell you, you're going to die today.
Yes,
no, that is my
The sword fight was won by me.
Yes. Okay,
All
so continue here, Lane and Gerald. You guys can just go ahead because you hate each other.
We don't hate each other.
Yes, you do.
So they were trying to keep the buffer initially with NATO. What's the problem now with NATO?
The problem that now and the problem that Russia saw then and the problem even our Soviet experts saw then, like you can look at George Kennan,
Fauci?
George Kenton, he wrote the long telegram. He was kind of the architect of the Soviet containment policy during the Cold War.
Architect. I know that word.
All right. Yeah.
So he even said as much, and I think we have the quote in here somewhere that basically...
Yes, he said, this was in 97. He said, expanding NATO would be the most fateful error of American policy in the post-Cold War era. Such a decision may be expected to impel Russian foreign policy in directions decidedly not to our liking. So the argument you're making now is that Russia understood NATO, but then because of NATO's expansion and also how they and where they expanded, it forced Russia to say, all right, now we're going to have to act aggressively.
Right. And you can imagine this from their perspective. And again, this isn't to say Russia's a great country, Vladimir Putin's a great guy. It's not.
You're the opposite of all those
supporter. I get it.
Russia's a crap hole and he's a KGB.
Right. But if you're looking, but if you're looking at this from a rationalist perspective, if you put yourself in his shoes as the leader of a country and your greatest adversary for the last 100 years or whatever, it's 70 years, all of a sudden has the ability to stage troops right next door, you would see that as a threat. So even if we don't want him to expand, we can understand why.
And it should be noted, Bill Clinton, the NATO expansion, added, who did it add? It added Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. The Czech Republic.
And then in 2004, NATO added 7 more Eastern European countries. So I get it, right? There's a lot of stuff going on there. And then obviously we get to Barack Obama's tenure in 2008. NATO endorsed the addition of Ukraine and Georgia.
Oh, we have a clip.
So I get it.
I will continue to make America's position clear. We support MAP for Ukraine and Georgia. Helping Ukraine move toward NATO membership is in the interest of every member in the alliance and will help advance security and freedom in this region and around the world.
Did George W. Bush just say he supports maps for Ukraine?
I believe that's minor attracted person.
No, Dave. Oh, geez. He came in late. Dave, in this context, it actually means membership action plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Gerald's just trying to justify his sick fetishes. But the truth is, I hate to point it out, this is also because George W. Bush did his prep by watching Dora.
That's right.
I'm the map, 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 I'm the map.
I like that little guy.
He's got a real future.
I'll tell you one thing, not a terrorist.
Don't get me started on the compass.
He's not here to take freedom.
He's a map.
Is it weird if I eat chicken wings while I do my State of the Union?
So all of this angered Russia, and Putin responded. The emergence of a powerful military bloc at our borders will be seen as direct threat to Russian security. And this is, of course, Russia went to war with Georgia. But here's the thing.
Not the state of Georgia, just in case.
No.
The country.
No, the state was, that was The Walking Dead. They no longer filmed in Georgia because of their voter ID laws.
Yes.
But here's the thing.
That's probably true.
Yeah,
it is true.
My point is this. Do you think that Russia was, Ginger Snap, justified in going into Georgia? I mean, I guess my question is, the United States meddled, post-Cold War. I think a big part of this is, you look between World War II and the Cold War, Americans don't have the stomach to win a war anymore.
No.
You need to go in, break stuff, convert people, and leave. That's the truth. That's what a war has always been. Afghanistan should have been making it look like the ice castle and then walking out. That's how many bombs we should have dropped. And instead, you go in, you try and work with people, you try and create alliances, and then there are insurgencies, and it just destabilizes it. That's not what war used to be, because we didn't have sort of these global interconnected governments. And that's a problem now.
Yeah, they would go in and actually install their own leaders. They would take part of the people and disperse them around the kingdom so that nobody would be associated with just that country to, I don't know, maybe take up arms against them again.
Right.
I think we've forgotten history. And I'll make that point in just a second here. Actually, no, I'll do it right now.
Oh,
I think history is the problem for a lot of people. Dave, you just got to...
History is a problem for Dave.
Well, yeah. Well, it's understanding history, right? And so we've seen Russia. So your I guess, point is that, look, he is a power-hungry psychopath, but he's doing what we expect him to do in this situation, and us going into these places is causing it. All right, I will make a counterpoint to that and say that Russia has always done stuff like this.
Kick his ass.
After World War II, they actually started kind of pushing communism into places. First, I think Czechoslovakia was one of the first places in the late 1940s. Ugh. And then we had the outbreak of the Korean War, which was, again, communism kind of encroaching on freedom. You were in South Korea. You could be singing. They wouldn't have let you in the first place, my friend, if the North had won, backed by communist China and Russia. Noted. Right? So they were pushing before. And so the United States...
I wouldn't let you in if I was their bouncer.
The United States and its allies had to do something. Right? So you've got a bully. If you leave the bully alone, what does the bully tend to do?
So we've heard John Bolton's point. What do you? What's your counterpoint there?
Okay, so we keep
What
looking.
am I, a war hawk?
Yeah.
No.
We keep looking at Russia like it's the Soviet Union, and the geopolitical situation is exactly the same as it was then. In World War II, if we're going to refer to that, who were we?
We are going to refer to that. What do you mean?
Why wouldn't we refer to that?
Okay, so we are. Let's refer to it.
Okay. It's one of the top 2 biggest wars.
Right. Okay. Who were our allies in World War II?
World War II? I mean, we had France.
Germany.
No. Okay, France.
Well, the main guys were France,
UK,
the UK.
Yeah, it's Canada.
Take a little further east.
You want me to go east? You want me to go to Ukraine because it didn't.
Russia?
Part of that. No.
Do you want me to go to Russia?
The Chinese. The Chinese were one of our allies.
Hold on.
Can I?
Sort of.
No.
I think
sort of.
has a
They
you know what they
were.
did? The Chinese basically just got in the way of bullets. They did. They weren't like an ally.
We didn't say they were fans of their alliance.
I didn't say they were good allies, but we were still.
That's a terrible excuse to go around killing them.
You know who I'd list as allies before them? Canada, because they actually went in D-Day and stormed the beach.
Oh my God, though, it's so embarrassing. Let me just tell you this.
They did.
You know when we stormed the
footage
beach?
is bad.
So the United States was Omaha.
Yeah.
And what was it? Omaha. Which ones? There was Omaha, Gold, Sword.
Juneau.
So Juneau was the Canada one. Is the one that I
they
know.
walked
I get
the
it because I
shore.
learned. Yeah. So if you watch the Juneau beach, there's actual footage of the Juneau beach. Them going. And by the way, thank you, Canada, for all the great work you do. We really appreciate it. But Juneau was the Canadian beach, and we were watching it in class. And so, of course, Saving Private Ryan had been out, so I'm expecting them, going in and. And instead, you just see them kind of like jog with their packs into the mist. They make it all the way in.
Totally fine.
No one goes down because they're like, what should we do about the Canadians? Let them be.
It doesn't matter. All the horses are drowning.
Yes. They're supposed to swim, not when you're on them, asshole.
Joke's on you.
Say things this is like White Fang in real life.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so China.
Stupid. This is not bacon.
So the point is, at different geopolitical times, we ally with different nations. So
I get that.
So right now, we are not allying with China for specific reasons, and they don't need to be stated. It's very clear.
Right.
So we need to look at the situation as it exists today. And so what benefit does the United States get from antagonizing Russia when we could use them strategically, just like we used China vis-a-vis the Soviet Union during the Cold War?
Okay, fair point. Right.
What benefit?
Do you think?
He asked.
And this, I mean,
what?
Who?
Have you?
With whom shall we align ourselves?
Wheat thins.
Why are you pronouncing the H?
So here's the thing. Do you think that Russia would want that? We have been, like you said, for 70 plus years, the greatest, kind of, I guess, holder against Russia, somebody that's going to keep Russia from becoming what they really want to do is dominate all of Europe, right? Because they showed that. Do you think for a second that they're going to just walk back to the lines and say, okay, good, the United States is not the threat that we thought they were. They're playing nice with us. We're good to go. Do you think that'll happen?
No, absolutely not. But there is a line that has to be drawn, but our line can't be drawn across the entire globe.
It's not. It's drawn at the states that you used to occupy that you left, and that now you are unilaterally going back to and saying, hey, you're not a country anymore. You're back to being part of us. The reason that they want Ukraine, it has been
Why are you
central.
yelling? He's not a woman.
Listen. I'm trying to make my point.
Just wait till he sees the casserole he made.
Wait until I use all caps, Dave. Okay? You're about to see it. Ukraine has been central to the problem for a very long time, right? By taking Crimea, they are making sure that their Black Sea fleet can get out to the Mediterranean.
Easy.
That's easy to see. It's easy to understand.
Well, they had a naval base there before.
They did have a naval base there before, but if we are strengthening Ukraine and their ability to fight, don't you think that naval base starts?
Well, hold on. Let's go back to the Ukraine a little bit.
Attack,
and then we want to continue down that
All
road
right.
because the United States spent billions of dollars.
Halfway through my point.
Billions of dollars trying to influence Ukraine and oppose what some people would say are lawfully elected politicians. So the United States invested $5 billion in Ukraine from 91 to 2013. The U.S. also funded the National Endowment for Democracy, which helped fund opposition to Ukraine's democratically elected-ish
free and fair election
president. Not quite as secure as 2020.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Same territory.
Yeah, really close.
He got $80 million.
Also, just so you guys can note, to understand sort of a motivation here and who's lining up where, from 1990 to 2015, George Soros' organization, International Renaissance Foundation, I just thought it was a fair with a bunch of people in burlap. They spent $181 million to spread democracy to the Ukraine because Soros loves him some democracy. The Jews are in the attic! Here's Soros admitting basically that on CNN in 2014.
First, on Ukraine, one of the things that many people recognized about you was that you, during the revolutions of 1989, funded a lot of dissident activity, civil society groups in Eastern Europe, in Poland, the Czech Republic. Are you doing similar things in Ukraine?
Well, I set up a foundation in Ukraine before Ukraine became independent of Russia. And the foundation has been functioning ever since. And it played an important part in events now.
Do you think Ukraine will be able to assert a kind of independence from Russia and an alignment with the West, but not a specific alignment as in NATO, but a kind of orientation toward the West, or will the Russians always stop them?
No, Putin will try to destabilize Ukraine, but the Ukrainians, the large majority of Ukrainians, are determined to be independent of Russia. It won't be easy.
Because when you need stabilization, you need yet another evil person who looks like a podling. What is it with? But you got Janet Yellen.
Oh,
look, come on. They could be.
This is what happens when you stare at the crystals.
Triplets.
He's a billionaire. He can't get eye cream?
Yes. Retinol irritates. It's just make my age spot look worse.
I have so much baggage from World War II. It starts to form under eyes.
Yes. This actually is evil trying to escape my face. So I stuff it back in a real zipper.
Yes, I make my first billion of gold fillings.
Yes.
I'm now Russian.
When I unzip skin suit, I look like things from They Live.
Now, excuse me, I will return to Fraggle Rock.
Yes. This giant is always trying to catch me. All right.
I'm Dozer.
Okay, so you guys go ahead and explain the history here a little bit. For people, let's not get too nerdy so people
No, I know. I want people to follow.
So the catalyst for the revolution, right?
Oh, I don't know.
We're talking about the Ukraine came in 2013, correct?
Right.
Yes, that's correct. So there was a thing called like the Maidan Revolution. That's what they called it in Ukraine. It was basically there was the president at the time who was the one that was democratically, as much as you can be democratically elected.
Say it with air quotes.
Democratically elected. Most free and fair election ever besides 2020.
Right. Obviously.
The same people George Soros's groups were funding against ended up signing a economic deal with Moscow that was better than the one with the EU.
And the economic deal.
And economic deal. A lot of the people in Kiev were unhappy about this because they did want closer relationships with the EU.
Right.
That's Western Ukraine. Eastern Ukraine's a very different story. Either way, there was a revolution. He ended up being ousted.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Yeah, right?
This should be good.
Do you both agree that that's good or no? You think it's bad?
No, he was ousted. I don't know if it was good or not, but I know that we definitely played a part in that happening.
Yes.
Right.
Almost like if maybe, I don't know, there was a green movement for freedom in Iran and we would play a role like, we think that you guys should overthrow your oppressive government.
But it wasn't it wasn't a freedom
Okay, Oliver North.
Listen,
I know, right?
Oppressive government.
The words
There's only room for one oppressive government at a time. Okay.
Yes.
But
America?
Again,
well, it just depends.
This is not like a moral judgment on who is right or who is wrong, just who did what based on the facts and why we are.
But you have to look at some of the motivations, right? So if somebody is going to go in and say, look, this guy was in office, he started to get really, really cozy with the Russians, and these things were not things that people liked, and they protest, they had a revolution, they overthrew him. It's like, okay, well, we helped something that was already going on. Maybe if we started the revolution, maybe if everybody loved him and we came in with a propaganda campaign and said, no, he's a really bad guy, that'd be a different story.
That's exactly what happened. After he got elected in 2010, that's when all the money starts coming in. That's when the Soros Foundation...
But there were already people who disagreed with this guy.
Yeah, what about in 2015, this does matter, 93% of Crimeans... Crimeans. I said Crimea before. Then I heard Trump saying Crimea. I don't know what it is.
Right.
Crimea. Crimeans said they supported Russia's annexation. That's 93%. You can get 93% of Americans to support anything. Well, not even that gay reporter on CNN.
Well, how many people did they shoot that said no?
That is a gay
When they're walking door to door to ask, hey, do you support the Russia's takeover of Crimea?
So
Make sure you answer correctly.
These were surveys done by German and American pollsters.
Oh, Germans! They make another appearance, of course.
I will bring it back to what Stephen said about Patton, how he commented on the Slavic people or the Asiatic people as some people we can't trust. Well, these are the same people we're talking about now. They haven't changed. And most of these people...
we still can't trust them.
Most of the people in... the ethnic majority in Crimea is Russian. The ethnic majority in eastern Ukraine is Russian. So to say that they are all about being part of the EU and these European values, well, we know, according to what Patton said, that doesn't coexist.
Yeah, but does it...
So are we trying to make it happen?
But does it mean that Russia can just take part of a sovereign country because they want to?
Well, I don't think that Ginger Snap is saying that it's a good thing that Russia is taking part of a sovereign country. I think what Ginger Snap is saying is that maybe it's not the United States' job to go in and do anything about it.
Okay, so that was a comment.
Do I have that right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so I will.
Well, what do I have wrong?
No, so
yeah, because pretty much leaves some room there. What are you trying to say, Ginger?
I think we know that Putin will, though, be the one who's going to show his hand when he eats Oreos. I'll tell you that much. It's an Oreo tell.
Whether or not they should have annexed Korea, or whether they have not, Crimea, or whether or not they should have supported the separatists in eastern Ukraine, I'm not even arguing that. I'm saying you could not have expected them not to do it based on the position they found themselves in.
Russia didn't find, in my opinion, is that Russia didn't find themselves in any position. Russia was an instigator from the very beginning. And the response that we had to Russia was we've got to
curtail. They were Eddie Haskelling it a little bit.
We've got to curtail their spread of like we face this in several places around the world. Russia wasn't just sitting back after World War II going, everything's hunky-dory, I guess we'll go back to our lines. They wanted to keep the Eastern Bloc countries. That was the Iron Curtain. They did that.
Yeah.
Yes, but something happened in 1991.
Yes.
And now that country no longer exists. And that
that alliance doesn't exist anymore. I get that. But the same people who in 1991 experienced freedom for the first time in generations very quickly after that said, we can't do this. We need a state-run agency again. We need people to take care of us. Free enterprise needs to go away. And people like Putin were all too willing to come in and actually step down, have the other person that gets placed in that office change the Constitution essentially and say that you can serve as dictator for life. And then he comes back in and he's like, I didn't do it. It was that guy.
So, Russia's Constitution.
Like that's what they're doing right now.
It's cute.
When was the first time that Russia showed aggression towards these former Eastern Bloc states? Since after the Cold War.
After the Cold War. Yes. See, you're going to the Cold War as the start of this. It was 1949.
Yeah, why are you going to the Cold War, Ginger Snap?
Because it's Russia now and not the Soviet Union, and we're in a much different place.
But here's the thing. Listen, I understand that history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And this rhymes a lot with what we've seen before out of Russia in any state.
It rhymes, Ginger Snap.
So I agree. Russia historically is not a good country. They're not a good country now.
Okay. Right.
I agree with that.
Bomb Russia. You just said bomb Russia, right? Just for everybody listening.
The Red Wings disagree.
Well, the Capitals got a lot of value.
Let's not talk about hockey. People's eyes will glaze over even further.
So
no, they won't.
The point I'm trying to make is from 1991 to 2008, there was no aggression at all from Russia into the former Eastern Bloc.
Yeah, there was no aggression at all, Gerald.
That's not true. In 2004, didn't they invade Georgia in 2004?
What about 2004, Ginger Snap?
That was 2008.
Well, what did they do in 2004? They did something.
Something about 2004, something about 2008.
The 2008 invasion of Georgia was in direct response to us offering them a place in NATO.
Gerald, what'd he say?
So, here, let me just play this out for you. Hey, Steven, you've got a bully attacking you and you can't defend yourself. By the way, if that ever happens, I'll take your side. And the bully goes, see, you're an instigator. And I'm like, no, it's because you're a bully that I have to say that I'll defend this guy.
Well,
Do you understand where we're coming from here?
No, I understand. Let me just try and laser in on this here. Okay, we're talking about your argument is, and I don't think it's ill-founded, that Russia felt that they were in a position where they had to, in other words, their justification is they're effectively responding, right, to encroachment, to basically what they would see as an oppressive form of NATO that obviously has is unfavorable towards Russia, right? Okay, so that's why they're acting out. Let's say that when we're talking about the Ukraine. Here's my question: if none of that happened to be the case with NATO, do we think that Russia would be straightening up and flying right, or do we think they would still be doing this anyway? I think they would still be doing this whenever they could get away with it.
I think that's a fair assessment to a fair guess, and I don't think that your points, Gerald, are unfounded.
Yeah.
But it had not happened until NATO expansion was offered to Ukraine and Georgia. So the, 17 years of evidence that we have suggests that maybe they would not have, but now we know for sure that they would, and we did.
So and you guys can comment below on who you agree with. Do you agree with Ginger Snap, or do you agree with Gerald? Or do you agree that we should never talk about Russia again?
until they attack.
Even people, even our audience members who are using VPNs right now in Russia watching are like, who gives a shit? I am already drunk.
You said you talk about naked women on page 5. You have
where are Russian breasts?
Behind the paywall.
Melania, Melania.
I'm not even kidding. They do have
Most
like,
have
I've
hairy
heard,
nipples.
I haven't seen this with my own eyes, so I can't confirm. But they say like they have Russian news like that are topless. And then they'll have I'm not kidding. They'll have somebody can look this up. They will also have in newspapers. They'll have like a naked girl on like page 5. Oh, sorry. Yeah, somebody could look this up. I just basically sent you to look up porn. My apologies. That was not the intent.
That's a good thing.
Nope. Yes, it was.
No, it's not.
Here's actually the one thing that I will say. In regards to, I agree with you, and this is something that really does actually concern. I agree with Ginger Snap on one thing.
Okay.
The idea of liberal hegemony.
Yeah.
You know, I always said this before when Barack Obama was president, and there was a situation, you know, Hamas and Israel really, there was a while there where there were a lot of rockets going on.
Oh, yeah.
I was very concerned. For the first time, I thought that the United States might be on the wrong side of history, might align themselves with the wrong people when you heard his rhetoric toward Israel. I'm not talking about whether we should intervene or not, but there's a big difference between saying we shouldn't intervene at all, we shouldn't be funding any of these nations in the Middle East, and we shouldn't have an alliance with Saudi Arabia, versus saying we should selectively support, you know, Palestine or the people who rule Palestine. And I will say this, for the first time, back if you're going to, let's say, World War II, or even before that, if you're going to talk about the United States spreading its values throughout the world, this is something where really you would be talking about places like Russia, where people are placed in gulags, or if you're talking about even in places, you know, in Africa, where just we know when we would send in missionaries, when we're teaching them about AIDS, and not just throwing contraceptives at them, but letting them know, hey, look, abstinence is also important. You can't have sex with a child to give your AIDS on down the line. We needed to actually establish cultural norms. Now, this is something that they believed, and say there's a superiority to this culture as a result of Judeo-Christian values. And so I think we would all have been on board at one point with the idea that all of these countries would be better off if they adopted American values. Not that it's our job to force them to.
Right.
However, I can say now for the first time, if I'm a country, if I'm, and this is not to say that Russia is a free country. This is not to say that Putin is anything other than basically a fascist asshat, okay? That being said, it's a lot easier right now, if you're Putin or any of these countries, to basically excoriate the United States for interventionism and go, look, you want us to be like country where you have men beating women in college athletics, little boys being taken away from father because not taking puberty blockers. Look, they have abortion up until and including after birth. Run clip of Ralph Northam. Look, they tell their children to get fat and feel that they should be proud and healthy. I rest my case with Exhibit Z, Lizzo eating a pizza with ranch. My point is, it does concern me that the values right now that we would export are not values that I would want exported.
No. Unfortunately, those
she
are the kinds of
replaced the
values.
cheese with it. Let's not go nuts.
That's true. Yeah, those are the kind of values that should not be, and those are the kind of values that make me go, I get why they hate us sometimes, right? Like sometimes it makes it apparent. But here's the thing.
Yeah, maybe ISIS has a point.
We have learned throughout history that we can't be isolationists. Whether we want to or not, we are the world's greatest superpower at this moment. Now, that can change. Historically, those things change. People move up and down, especially if you get away from the values that made you the superpower in the first place. But we are in this position. So what do? Well, in the 1930s, we said, your problem over there, not our problem over here. And you know what followed? The greatest wartime period in the history of the world.
That's the one with the Nazis, correct?
Yes.
Good.
Right? Because everybody looks at World War II as 1939 and on, and the seeds for that were planted far, far, far earlier.
Right.
And that's why I say history is rhyming. You have the former Soviet Union, which is now Russia. They are going back into places that used to be a part of that Soviet bloc. People who are militarily beaten down, knowing that they can't even hold their own region if they get attacked, right? They're not the superpower that they were, and that grates at people. That grated at Hitler, and he used it to push back and say, see, we're being kept down, and we're not as great as we once were, and we can be again. So that's something you have to keep an eye on. If they invade Ukraine right now, I'm not saying we send troops. But I think we have to understand that this is not one of those silly things that Barack Obama did. There's a red line for Assad, and Assad goes, boom, steps across the red line.
What are you going to do, pussy boy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Gaddafi, you can't do this. Gaddafi does it. His own people take him out. Thank God they had the balls to, because we certainly did. And Hillary Clinton says, why should we have to talk about this stuff anymore? I get it. I understand that.
Right.
But we do have to, at certain points in history, go, okay, if we don't stop him now, if we don't do something now, this could spin out of control because it has over and over.
And that's what Patton was
over.
talking about after World War II. He was saying Russia's going to become a power that we really should have squashed when we could have.
Yeah.
What do you? Okay, go ahead, Ginger.
I agree completely with all that.
I win. Woo!
I think you have the players wrong here.
Oh, who are the players? You think China's the player?
They are the player.
So here's the thing: China can be controlled economically to some degree, whereas Russia, it's harder to. Russia, you say the Nord Stream thing, and they're just going to fight you, right? With China, we can be like, hey, you can't bring in highway, whatever that guy pronounced it the other day.
But own all of our debt?
No.
I was highway.
Not all of it. No,
I was thinking you
Japan
mean the
it.
phones,
Yeah.
Huawei.
Huawei.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty powerful.
We have little to no economic leverage over the Chinese, and they frankly don't care very much.
They don't care.
Their economy is almost to pass ours as far as GDP size goes. Russia's about 1/20th the size of ours. They're not a real threat that they were during the 1960s, 1970s. China is that threat that our focus should be.
So what would you have us do with the Ukraine right now?
Make good money on rubber.
I would go. Listen, this is not to say that because we do have the 1994 agreement where we made them give up nukes that said, yes, we will defend you. We do have that.
Right.
So
our word.
We dug ourselves this hole, so we might have to do something. I don't know. I don't want to send troops.
We
there.
dug ourselves hole like pedophile in Russia who then stabbed himself in chest 28 times.
Yeah.
It's the 28th time.
That's how pedophiles kill themselves in Russia.
Shot himself 8 times in the back in the middle of the woods running.
His name was Set Richovsky.
Yes. We bury him where he lies.
Friend of Clinton's.
Yes.
He makes snow grave.
My point is, and I think you would probably agree with this, is that our trying to make the world a liberal bastion is not going to happen. It has failed.
Yeah.
And while we've been trying to do that, countries like Russia and China understand that realism, power, is this thing that still governs politics across the world. So Russia understands that. They don't like China inherently. They would love, in my opinion, to form closer relationships with us.
The U.S.?
Yes.
Against China?
Yes.
Only if it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Maybe.
Yes, that's politics.
There's
for
so
the
much
world.
bad.
I don't
blood with us
trust
throughout
either of them
history.
further than I can throw them, and I can throw a Chinese man much further than I can throw the average Russian.
Probably could, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
last
stout
week it was like 14
fellows.
feet.
Yeah.
I think we even have a poll in here from that they ran in Moscow, that the Moscow Times ran, that said like 5 out of 6 Russians are friendly towards the West. They don't have problems with this. There's no ideological rift that existed during the Cold War anymore.
Well, so it's their leaders then. And that's the problem because, okay, maybe the people aren't at our throat, but their leaders kind of are. And I'm not saying, again, like we're not in the Cold War right now. We're not in the same position that we've been in historically with Russia, but I am much more afraid of a 1/20th the size of our economy Russia that used to be a powerhouse, and they're trying to get back there, and they'll do whatever they have to. So Ukraine was not just important for a number of the other reasons that we've talked about. They were the breadbasket of the Soviet Union. They fed most of the Soviet Union, which is why Hitler went there first to try to destabilize Russia. And he almost succeeded. And if he had, we'd be looking at a very different world map right now. So I don't look at Russia as a non-threat, and I'm also not taking my eye off China. I get that they're a bigger threat. We've talked about Taiwan on this show several times.
I really don't like China.
And here's the difference. The
I like
difference
the
in all of
food.
this. Well, not the dogs. We've just
I don't
talked
really
about that.
need
Lane's
any more
just come out as a
fried scorpion in my life.
a
Oh, we're talking
king.
about Americanized Chinese. Sure.
Did somebody threaten to nuke Georgia over the weekend? Or
No,
nuke
no.
Alabama.
Abrams.
Nuke Alabama?
It's a college game gone wrong.
Oh.
It was
I
North
thought that was
Korea and it
Green
was
Bay.
Austin, Texas. I love how when he threatened to nuke the United States, he was like, I'm going to hit New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Austin.
So cool.
Yeah.
At it. That's-
I think
fine
we're all
with that?
good. Look, here's the point. This is one of those things where I hate to use this where people always say everything is nuanced, and the truth is there's really not much nuance to abortion as far as, okay, look, you either support it or you don't, and you at least draw a line as to where life begins or it doesn't. There really isn't all that much nuance to you either have the right to speak freely or you don't, okay? It doesn't need to be that long of a back and forth conversation. There really isn't all that much nuance to the Second Amendment. You either have the right to self-preservation, self-protection, or you don't. When we're dealing with geopolitical issues, however, that really, and that's almost, I hate the term geopolitical. When we're dealing with international politics, let's just make it simple. You're dealing with international politics. You are also dealing with countries who don't act within the kinds of rights that we know and take for granted. A lot of you, for example, don't know that there really is no other place on earth outside of the United States where you have the right to speak freely. Free speech doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in Canada, doesn't exist in the UK, doesn't exist in Australia. Not to mention the right to keep and bear arms. There are a lot of rights that we have enshrined in our Constitution. So when you're dealing with international relations, there is a little bit more nuance because, and I don't want to say nuance, there is there's more that needs to be taken into consideration when it comes time to pull the trigger. In other words, here, when you say, all right, look, you can't do this. This is going to the Supreme Court. It needs to be swatted down. All right, look, this is an issue where it's black and white. We understand. Okay, the states have voted. When you're dealing with, do we intervene? What do we do here with the Ukraine? How much of it is the United States' fault? How much is, the international community meddling? How much is it their fault? What can the United States do at this point? How much does it relate to a national security issue? I think we can agree on this. China, Taiwan, we all here in the studio have a red line. That needs to absolutely be stopped, because not only is China a key player, not only does China hate the United States, but Taiwan, if Taiwan goes, that would be a huge deal for international security, period, not just the USA. With Russia, I think Ginger Snap makes some valid points. I think that Gerald makes some valid points. I'm interested to hear you guys comment below, and you guys can also, after you comment, and this is a little bit drier, a little bit nerdier, but there's no way to address the Russia-Ukraine thing. There's no other way to do it aside from playing Risk and acting it out, which maybe we'll do. Maybe we'll do, and we'll just use Dave's Ambien instead of figurines. I get to be.
I don't really take Ambien, just to be clear.
I get to be the Xanax. I get to be the Xanax thimble.
I want people to be like, he's relapsed.
No, he hasn't relapsed at all.
No.
Of course,
Ambien doesn't count. And smash the like button if you're watching on YouTube. We have a lot to get to.
We do.
The rest of this week, including Wikipedia. That's a huge video on Thursday. And now we're going to go to Mug Club and play Finnegan Knows All, which would never be permissible here on YouTube. Ginger Snap, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You are articulate, and ladies who like redheads will be all over themselves. Get out. Get out before it gets creepy. YouTube, piss off.